theme of the night is first time, right? I remember my first time speech, improv speech. It was an improvised speech. And they asked me to talk about 5 minutes, and the subject was up to me. It was a sudden moment that I got to the stage, and there were about 5 seconds to choose a subject. And I told the audience the only knowledge that I learned till then. And now I think it's time for you to learn my second knowledge. It all started about 10 years ago, but I will be starting from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was in a kitchen and I was preparing my breakfast. I was in a rush and I decided not to prepare a tea, and I decided to make a quick coffee. But the coffee was not there, it was empty. So I made my way to my work, and I decided that I should buy a coffee during the day when I got back to home. During the day, the cargo company called me and asked me to visit their office because I have ordered 3 books from internet, and they visited my home and I was not there. So they asked me to visit their office and get the book. After work, I went to the cargo company office, got those books, and came back to home. I put them in the kitchen counter at the same place that I thought that I need a coffee next morning. At that point, I realized that I forgot to buy a coffee during the day. Instead of that, I had come to the house with a box full of books. And I decided to open it with a knife and thought that, oh shit, I forgot the coffee. And I opened the book with the knife and there was my coffee. You may call this coincidence. I don't know yet. At that time, I was wondering if it's coincidence or not. But let me give you another example. It was about 5 years ago, maybe it was about, not 5, 8 years ago, I was working in a bank. And I had decided to get out of the bank and find a new job. So I was in a depressed state because there was a crisis, economical crisis in Turkey, and I had to pay some bills, my son's maintenance, etc. So it was a hard time. And I was driving my way to my home with my car, and I was thinking how to deal with that, how to change the job. And I remembered that I'm working in a bank, and if there's another bank, oh yes, there's another bank, I know. There's a guy I know in Garanti, and a friend of mine working in there, but I have not seen him since 10 years. His name was Feridun. So I was thinking about him during the driving, and suddenly, not suddenly, but 1 minute later, 2 roads in a junction was merging, and one car was approached to my lane, and I suddenly looked to my left and saw Feridun there. I was really surprised. I got my phone, I called him. Oh, Feridun, look at me, I'm driving on your right. He was surprised, and then I called him as the rest. Anybody have this type of coincidences? One here, not yet, one here, one there, one there. Oh, good, nice, you're on the way. So, another example maybe, but I don't call these coincidences. These are some other examples, but not coincidences. Let me give you another example. It was about 5 years ago, I guess. I was in my kitchen, sitting at my table and thinking about something. Maybe I was watching a TV or something, but at that time, I was thinking about the movie called Forrest Gump. You know that film? It's a lovely film. I mean, it won about 5 or 6 Oscar awards. So there's a character there, Forrest, run, Forrest, run. So I like that guy, I love that guy, I admire that guy about his open attitude to his life. And at that time, something happened there was a door, balcony door. It was open. It was summer or spring, I don't know. But as suddenly, a white plastic bag has came into the kitchen floor from outside. I don't know how it came. A wind or something threw it. I don't know. And I walked down the floor, get the bag, and checked it. Oh, it was a white bag. And look at the drawing and the words. There was a drawing like shrimp. Do you remember shrimp? Let's see. I don't know. So the words were Buppa Gump Shrimps. Forrest Gump, Buppa Gump Shrimps. In the film, there was a scene. This Buppa and Forrest are in war in Vietnam, and Buppa is dying in the film. And Buppa is saying to Forrest that you should found a company, shrimp company, in my hometown in Alabama. And then Forrest Gump is going there and establishing that company and become a millionaire. I don't know. So, do you call this coincidence? No.
Was this in Turkey?
Of course. I don't know how it travels from US
This is Soviets.
No, so, at first I was frightened. I was scared that I am losing my mind. And then I began to search this parapsychological event and found out that Swiss psychologist Mr. Carl Jung has also found out this phenomenon in 1920s. It's called Synchronicity. It's the mind and the matter connection at the same place and at the same time. So, and I dig the ground and found that in Taoism, in Hinduism, in Islamic Sufism, in ancient Greek mythology, there are some roots and there are some occurrences with that. So, right now I'm not scared. But what's the story? I mean, I'm having fun. These are some signs from outside world that happens not in every day, but frequently and in that meaning. So maybe you can also experience the same. I don't know, but in times that in some time, if you want to join this type of experiences, I'm always listening to my inner voice. So I'm also trusting my inner voice. And if you also like to be part of this game, I suggest, or maybe I can be a suggestion. There can be a suggestion that maybe you can also follow your inner voice and trust your inner voice, so that your soul may be your pilot.